Should have brought your ass home last night.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of All Things Girl World. In today's video, we are discussing the 1992 movie Boomerang. I want to explore Marcus Graham's dating style with women, what he got right, where he missed the mark, and how meeting his emotional match with Jacqueline unconsciously shifted his perspective on how he approaches his relationships with women. And finally, we're asking the bigger question. If Marcus never got played by Jacqueline, would Angela have ever stood a chance? Let's talk about it. Boomerang was released in 1992 and features a star-studded cast including Eddie Murphy as Marcus, Robin Givens as Jacqueline, and Halle Berry as Angela. The film follows the love life of Marcus Graham, an advertising executive who's used to having his way with the ladies. He's charming, manipulative, and thrives on the thrill of the chase with no real intention of long-term monogamous commitment. But when Marcus meets his match in his new boss, who also becomes his fling, it challenges everything he thought he knew about the game. At the very beginning of the film, it's clear that Marcus is very well liked throughout the company and seems to have a great rapport with his colleagues. This advertising agency is filled with beautiful women, and you can absolutely tell that Marcus treats this place as his playground. When Marcus is having lunch with his friends and colleagues Tyler and Gerard, played by the legendary Martin Lawrence and David Alan Grier, this scene really sets the tone for the film. It puts into perspective the different roles each character plays within the film's dating dynamics and how those perspectives show up in their behavior. Tyler is more of a wild card. He's obnoxious at times and doesn't seem to recognize how the language he uses to describe women, like casually calling them the B word, impacts his ability to attract women, especially when compared to how easily things seem to work for Marcus. Gerard, on the other hand, comes across as more respectful, the good guy type. He believes there's more to life than simply reaching the end goal of sleeping with women, which sets him apart from how dating is usually framed in Marcus's world. And then there's Marcus, the star of the show. Marcus is the player. On the surface, his intentions seem harmless, but underneath that charm are a lot of ulterior motives. He believes women need to be studied in order to be understood, and I don't completely disagree with that. He also understands the romance, the flowers, the cards, the candy, all of it. At the same time, though, he openly admits that once he becomes intimate with a woman, he tends to lose interest, and he frames that as something that just isn't his fault. Still, there's clearly something about Marcus. Women are drawn to his presence and his aura, sometimes without even knowing him personally.
When I meet a woman, I am flowers, I am candy, I am soft music, and Mr. Milkbone.
This scene highlights how different approaches to dating coexist within the same world of the film and lead to very different outcomes. Marcus's charm grants him easy access, Tyler's behavior creates clear limitations, and Gerard's perspective hints at a deeper sense of fulfillment beyond the chase. Before Jacqueline enters the picture, Marcus's love life gives us a clear view of his typical patterns, the charm, the manipulation, and sometimes the unexpected irony. Yvonne is Marcus's next-door neighbor and former fling. Their relationship didn't end well, and she spends much of the film warning other women about Marcus's womanizing ways. From her perspective, he uses women and moves on. Marcus, of course, sees it differently. He tells her he simply wasn't interested and brushes off her warnings, encouraging her to find another man. This encounter sets the tone for Marcus's casual approach to relationships. Christy is a sweet, quirky colleague at the advertising agency spotted by Marcus walking her dog. He completely manipulates her, crafting a story of being lonely and afraid of love, which allows him to sleep with her. Yet his interest ends the moment he's no longer physically attracted, and he openly admits he's seeking perfection. Christy shows Marcus's pattern, charm, manipulation, and a lack of long-term intent. The most ironic of Marcus's encounters is with Lady Eloise, a much older woman. Here, Marcus becomes the one being played. Eloise convinces him that intimacy with her will secure him influence over the agency's marketing decisions, when in reality, she has no such power. This moment is a rare flip of the script, hinting that Marcus isn't always in control and that he can be outmaneuvered by someone equally cunning.
I find it very exciting as well.
Marcus thought his interactions with Jacqueline would follow the same pattern as all his other flings. He sees what he likes, he approaches, she falls for his charm and his lies, he sleeps with her, and then he moves on. But that's not what happens here. For the first time, Marcus finds himself on the other side of the game, and ironically, at times he even starts sounding like the women he's played with. Jacqueline is introduced not as a romantic object, but as an authority figure, the director of marketing who outranks Marcus within the new corporate structure, a position Marcus mistakenly thought he had secured after his encounter with Lady Eloise. Marcus is used to controlling rooms socially and romantically. Jacqueline, however, controls the room structurally through title, schedule, and institutional backing. She's composed, direct, and emotionally reserved. Unlike many women Marcus encounters, she doesn't reward charm with affirmation. Instead, she evaluates him, corrects him when necessary, and redirects the interaction on her terms. Her dating style reflects executive logic more than romance. She explicitly states she does not date men she works with and never softens that boundary to protect Marcus's ego or desire. Even when attraction is present, she insists on structure first. When Jacqueline first comes over to Marcus's apartment, he assumes seduction is inevitable. Instead, she wants to watch the basketball game, and Marcus quickly becomes bored once he realizes the night isn't going to be about sex. That moment exposes something important. Marcus doesn't really know how to exist with a woman outside of intimacy. Yes, he gets the romance right, the flowers, the music, the mood setting, but it rarely goes beyond that. Even Jacqueline showing interest in basketball, something many men would see as a bonding moment, doesn't hold his attention once he realizes it won't lead to where he expects. She also controls the pace between them. One of the most telling moments comes when Marcus is told through her assistant that she won't be available for the next 3 weeks. There's no apology, no explanation. For someone used to being immediately accommodated, the waiting unsettles him. It's clear that Jacqueline represents something Marcus hasn't encountered before. She's confident, self-contained, and uninterested in centering him. The chase feels different, not because she's unavailable, but because she refuses to bend. Jacqueline separates intimacy from commitment in a way that immediately throws Marcus off balance. She's open to physical intimacy while resisting emotional obligation or exclusivity. After New Orleans, she frames the encounter as situational, not relational, shutting down Marcus's attempts to define it as more. In many ways, she dates the way Marcus once did, on her own terms, at her own pace, without emotional guarantees. This is where Marcus meets his match. He's used to being desired, chosen, and emotionally centered. Jacqueline disrupts all of that. She isn't impressed by his persona, and she doesn't reassure him emotionally. Instead, she leaves him guessing, unsure where he stands, when he'll see her, or what she's thinking. For the first time, Marcus experiences the same uncertainty he's imposed on other women. Jacqueline mirrors Marcus by reflecting his own emotional patterns back at him. She compartmentalizes intimacy, delays access, and prioritizes her career, schedule, and boundaries without apology. Experiencing his own tactics from the receiving end forces Marcus to confront how destabilizing they actually are. That mirror becomes impossible to ignore when Marcus starts using the language of care, commitment, and emotional presence, ideas he once dismissed because now he's the one craving them.
Look at you. God, Marcus, you have yourself all upset and worked up over nothing.
I'm nothing. That's what sex is to me, nothing.
Jacqueline isn't a villain or a reward. She represents boundaries, self-possession, and reciprocal power. She doesn't punish Marcus, she simply refuses to adjust herself for his comfort, and that refusal is what destabilizes him. Ultimately, Jacqueline is Marcus's match because she moves the way he moves, self-directed, emotionally guarded, and unapologetically prioritized. By encountering someone who won't bend, Marcus is finally forced to ask himself whether he can experience intimacy without being in control. Next, I want to talk about Angela. Angela Lewis functions in Boomerang as the emotional and moral counterweight to Marcus Graham's worldview. Introduced as a talented artist in the company's art department, she immediately signals creativity, integrity, and care. That becomes even clearer when we learn that she teaches art to kids whose school can't afford it. That choice says everything about her values. She prioritizes meaning, service, and emotional contribution over status or ego. Unlike many women in Marcus's orbit, Angela isn't defined by whether she's available. Her presence is defined by what she gives to her work, to the kids, and eventually to Marcus himself. Even though Angela is around Marcus for most of the film, he doesn't notice her romantically at first. His attention is completely consumed by Jacqueline, and she knows it. He even tries to redirect her romantic potential towards his friend Gerard, showing that at this point, he doesn't see her as a possibility for himself. It's only after Jacqueline destabilizes him, after Marcus's pattern starts to unravel, that Angela comes into focus. Their connection grows slowly, quietly, out of proximity and vulnerability, rather than conquest or strategy. By the time they come together, Angela represents a kind of intimacy Marcus had never recognized before, something present and real, rather than a game to be won. Angela is perceived as the good girl of the film because she is vulnerable and honest in a dating world built on detachment and control. She communicates her feelings, expresses her expectations, and expects consistency between words and actions. Where Marcus thrives on manipulation, charm, and leverage, Angela offers sincerity. She doesn't weaponize emotional distance or use scarcity as power. Her transparency makes her feel safe and nurturing, especially when compared to Jacqueline's strategic withholding. Angela also embodies the kind of future Marcus says he wants but doesn't yet know how to sustain. She represents commitment, emotional labor, and mutual care, the things he only starts to talk about after experiencing loss. Importantly, she doesn't wait around. When she feels that Marcus can't love her the way she deserves, in that moment, she chooses herself. She leaves, focuses on her career, and organizes her life around her priorities, not his growth. Angela isn't a reward or a moral lesson. She's a standard Marcus has to rise to or lose. In the end, Angela is a quote-unquote good girl because she is honest and accountable. She exists in the narrative to show both Marcus and the audience that intimacy without integrity is hollow. Real connections require more than charm, wit, or desire. Angela isn't just what Marcus needs. She's what he hasn't yet earned the right to have. So let's explore the million-dollar question. If it wasn't for Marcus getting played by Jacqueline, would Angela have ever stood a chance? And if you're thinking no, you have good reason to. This dynamic isn't accidental. The film is very intentional about it. Angela and Jacqueline aren't competing for Marcus. They represent two completely different ways of relating, and Marcus can only recognize one after the other dismantles him. At the start of the film, Marcus is wired for challenge, not compatibility. He's drawn to control, validation, and the thrill of pursuit. Jacqueline represents all of that. She resists him, outpaces him, and refuses to center him, and that resistance becomes the source of his desire. Angela, on the other hand, is already present. She's warm, consistent, and emotionally clear. And because Marcus is still chasing ego over connection, that kind of presence reads as unexciting to him, not because Angela lacks depth, but because she doesn't threaten his sense of control. What Jacqueline does and what Angela can't do at that stage is disrupt Marcus's power. She mirrors his behavior back to him, makes him wait, withholds reassurance, and prioritizes herself without apology. For the first time, Marcus experiences what it feels like to want more than someone is willing to give. That experience changes him. So yes, without Jacqueline flipping the script on Marcus, Angela never would have stood a chance. Not because Angela wasn't enough, but because Marcus wasn't ready. By the end of Boomerang, Marcus's growth is less about becoming a different man overnight and more about making a conscious, uncomfortable choice. After moving through a cycle of conquest, ego, and emotional avoidance, he finally understands that his womanizing ways have protected him from vulnerability rather than fulfilled him. His experiences, especially being humbled by Jacqueline and losing Angela, force him to recognize that intimacy requires surrender, not strategy. Choosing Angela means choosing consistency over excitement, accountability over control, and emotional risk over emotional safety. What Marcus ultimately learns is that real connection demands presence, restraint, and the willingness to be seen without performance. His leap towards Angela is not a guarantee of permanence, but it is a genuine turning point. The moment he stops collecting women as proof of worth and begins valuing one relationship as an act of growth. That's what makes Boomerang more than a rom-com. It's not about who ends up with who. It's about timing, emotional readiness, and what it takes to be worthy of real intimacy. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, let me know what your opinions on Boomerang are. Do you think that Angela and Marcus would have still ended up together had he not been hurt by Jacqueline? Also, do you think that the way Jacqueline moved was unfair, or was it karma for Marcus? Thank you so much for watching. As always, I truly appreciate your support, and I will talk to you all in the next video.